mention other areas, but I won't talk about it because of time. First of all, the breakdown of law and order and the increase in crime. Everyone in this room will have an anecdotal example of somebody who is directly been affected by criminal elements. And of course, you know about the sad case of Bukit Gasing just 2-3 days ago. Then our education policies. I mean, you could spend 2 hours talking about education policies. Absolutely cockeyed. Our health, and not much better. So again, there's an obsession about trying to attract the rich and the foreign tourists and focus on those who can pay at the expense of public health. And everybody now accepts that the right of public health is a constitutional right. It's a basic inherent right that the state must provide health. And if one goes to the public health, the hospitals in the smaller towns, it's pretty frightening. And then defense. Actually, first of all, I don't know why we need defense. We had a 4-5% budget allocation into the billions, and then Lahad Dato happened. And then you say, actually, why do we need defense when you had Asia carrying them? So I am still waiting for an explanation as to why we had Asia carrying our troops from Peninsular Malaya to Sabah Sarawak. Isn't that foreseeable? Isn't that why the RMAF is there for? That corruption. What can one say about corruption? I mean, again, that will take all night. One of Dr. M's singular contributions to Malaysian public life was the increase of corruption, where it's become a cancer. Again, I remind you, those of us who are still who are around, whatever one criticizes the Hussein On administration, Hussein On, when he retired in 1981, left behind the cleanest government in Malaysia's history. Hussein On was the strongest prime minister on corruption, much stronger than Tunku and Tun Razak, who were a bit more relaxed. So when Hussein On retired, and we had the most prosecutions, Harun Idris was prosecuted, the most number of white-collar crimes happened then. Lawyers like Shankar and Edgar Joseph had reputations for doing white-collar crimes. And then in 1981, Dr. M took over. And now, you know, 30 years later, it's just corruption is so rampant. And then federalism, a subject that's close to my heart, because there is so much power vested in Putrajaya, in the center. Again, contrary to the founding fathers and contrary to the wishes of those who formed Malaysia. And certainly a massive breach of faith to Sabah and Sarawak in 1963 when they joined. Because a strong argument can be made that they did not exchange one form of imperialism, the British imperialism, for Malay imperialism. And that's what they've got. Now, and to show how cockeyed federalism is, do you know that towns, and let me just take 2 towns as examples, Tanjung Malim and Kanga, just random. That do you know that in Tanjung Malim or Kanga, the mayor or whoever the big chief of these 2 towns, they cannot issue taxi licenses. Taxi licenses are issued out of center. They cannot even decide on bus routes. Bus routes in Tanjung Malim and bus routes in Kanga are decided by Putrajaya. So what is the point of having local government, state elections and all that? It's just an absolute waste of time. And so far I have not talked about oil royalty and all the other areas which are, which all of you know about. And then very quickly the present campaign. I mean, what I've said so far could have been said a year ago, 2 years ago, because it's not very topical. Let me bring you to what's happened actually since nomination day, or the last 1 week. Just recent developments, and I just mentioned that you know. First of all, Barisan's pact with Hindraf. Then Zulkifli Nordin standing in Shah Alam. Ibrahim Ali in Pasir Mas. Now this is significant because I cannot remember, and there must be some historians here, I cannot remember ever from the first general election in 1959, from 59, so that's why we have 13 elections, we had 12 before this, the 13th, in 12 general elections since 1959, I don't think there is ever an example of the All Alliance or Barisan National not fielding a candidate in Parliament. Because Barisan and Alliance always took the position that they are the natural party of governance, the country belongs to them. They always fielded a candidate. It was the other side which never fielded. And yet, in Pasir Mas, what does that UMNO guy do? He, being the totally dishonest chap that he is, he tells everybody that he's going into put in his nomination, and of course at between 9 and 10, all of us can't go in, it's only a restricted group of people. So his followers think that he's putting in his papers. At 11 o'clock, there's an announcement that the UMNO guy is not standing. So you have a contest between PAS and independent Ibrahim Ali. And that is absolutely shocking. And that is, we all know the truth is, Dr. M bellowed a week ago, why is Ibrahim Ali not standing? And of course he is now standing. And then of course the letters dated 17th and 19th April from the ROS to DAP, which caused that scandal, the DAP scandal, a few days before the nomination. And then the Goebbels type of propaganda over television and newspapers is just so bad now. It's really, really bad. Which may explain why they don't do Barisan doesn't do charamas. We've been looking for charamas. I've been wanting to attend a Barisan charama. I've been telling people, I want to attend and listen, and maybe I may change my mind. I want to go. But you cannot find a Barisan charama. And the answer is because they say, look, it's in the living room. It's in the bloody living room, so why do they need charamas? So like, they are paying taxpayers' money. And is this how a caretaker government is supposed to behave? And then finally, giving of gifts and announcements of projects daily. That's all they are doing. 5 minutes more. Then we finally come to the question, is the election of a Pakatan a practical possibility? And I'm only concerned about the federal government because, as I said, I mean, of course, the opposition may not like what I'm going to say, but I don't speak for them. I'm a free agent. But if I have my way, I will be quite happy for a trade-off. Pakatan gets federal power, and Barisan can keep all the 13 states. You keep all the 13 states, good luck to you, because power emanates from Putrajaya. So that's why I'm only concerned about Putrajaya. Of course, Lingguaning as Chief Minister won't like that, but... So is the election of a Pakatan federal government a practical possibility? I don't see why not. And I just give some practical measures that we can take. First of all, a high turnout of the 13.3 million voters is an imperative. Thus, I just did a quick calculation, an 80% turnout will produce 10.7 million voters. An 85% turnout will produce 11.3 million voters. So we need 85%, 11.3 million voters turning out. And I think Ambi and Bersih will be starting that very soon. They may be pushing for a 90%. It's not impossible to get because traditionally we get about 75%. So it's not impossible. And the reason is obvious because the effects of cheating are diminished. Cheating is going to take place, but the effects are diminished if it's a high turnout. And then 28% of the total number are new voters. 28%. And that is 3.7 million out of 13.3 million are voting for the very first time. Actually, I take it as a positive figure. A lot of people talk about cheating. I'll come to that in a minute. But the good thing about the 3.7 million new voters is that there is no prior history. They have no voting pattern. Special branch and the Dirty Tricks Department just don't know how they are going to vote. A large proportion of them are young. A large proportion of them have got registered to the post office, which indicates, I'm told by the specialists, that it's a free decision on their part. That Mr. A or Miss B goes voluntary to the post office and registers. And those are, they say, more likely to be Pakatan supporters. So I would say, all in all, one should be hopeful of this increase, even though there will be some amount of cheating. And then, so therefore, if there is a massive turnout, and of course, hopefully, we, in a very polite way, we tell our immigrant friends not to come to police stations that day, and it may work. I think everybody should talk to all those when you are in the line and see how they react. Now, in one of the most eloquent and moving speeches of the 20th century, Prime Minister Nehru announced to the world on the 14th of August 1947, and I quote, "At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom, as India has made a thirst with destiny by becoming independent. In 12 days' time, Malaysia also has a date with destiny. True Merdeka is within our grasp, to be freed from the bondage of UMNO misrule." Let us pray for liberation. Thank you.